Welcome to my channel. Please enjoy the video.
Is it clear to tell that the woman who was with Kevin Samuels at the time of his medical emergency was desperate to save him, and those questioning whether or not a foul play was involved with his death? You guys should have your answer, as you can hear in the 911 call. We've obtained the audio from the call placed Thursday. See, the woman that was with Kevin told the emergency operator she believed that Kevin was experiencing a type of issue with his heart, possibly an irregular rhythm, while she says she continued to perform CPR. The woman in question identifies herself as a nurse. She says it's her first time at Kevin's apartment, and she was having trouble giving that 911 operator Kevin's address. As the call continues, the situation gets more desperate. The caller says that Kevin was turning blue, and she then asks the 911 operator if they can assist her in calling the building's front desk, and asks them if they had an AED in hopes that she might revive Kevin. However, the front office was closed. We all know Samuels was known for the controversial dating advice that he gave out on social media. He died just last week at the age of 57 years old. And there are a lot of things that stuck out for me, and as we say on this channel, guys, where there's smoke, there's definitely some goddamn fire. This shit is not adding up, and I'm going to explain why. But let's just stick to the 911 call for now, and then we'll pick it apart and break this shit down. Now, according to the police report, the woman who was with Kevin said he began experiencing chest pains, and this happened that Thursday morning before he supposedly collapsed. And once again, guys, I repeat that report, that it seems that the woman was desperate to save him, and those were questioning whether foul play was involved in his death. You guys, once again, will have your answer or either your opinion, and you can drop that down in the comment section. Now, once again, guys, this woman said that she was a nurse.
Oh my God, I fucking know. You don't know if it's a hospital apartment? Oh, it's an apartment. Okay, what's the apartment number? No, I just need to give him CPR. Please, you need an ambulance? Yes. Okay. Are you listening? Hold on, ma'am. I have to connect you with the ambulance. It's Kevin fucking Samuels. I understand, but I have to connect you with the ambulance. Are you okay? Yes, yeah, is he awake? No, he has an irregular rhythm. I can feel it. He's breathing in and out, but he has an irregular rhythm. It's probably his heart. So he's gonna get here with the fucking. Man, I'm up. Stop it. Man. Come on, Kevin, you got it. Oh, come on, just try to breathe. Come on, you got it. Come on, think about your mom. Think about your daughter. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Just on the front desk to get an AED. He's not gonna make it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. But man, I don't want you to disconnect. Something can happen. Yeah, but I'm saying I need an AED. If they have one downstairs, I need to get them up here now. Are you able to get your neighbor, ma'am? I'm going to hang up with you. I'm hang up with you, or you call them in the front desk and give me a fucking AED right here now. He's turning blue. I cannot wait any longer.
As you guys can clearly hear, from the very beginning of this phone call up into the very ending of the phone call, this so-called nurse never gave Kevin Samuels not one compression. And if you do not believe me, please rewind this video back to the phone call and listen closely to everything that's going on, how she's talking, how uncalm that she is, and even the EMT was counting compressions. She never counted along with him. You cannot give compressions and talk the way that she's speaking. And when someone is giving compressions, they're calm because they're doing just that, giving compressions. CPR stands for cardiopulmonary resuscitation. And this is called an emergency procedure for people who are unconscious or unresponsive and whose hearts are not beating properly. Performing CPR, the rescuer performs chest compressions to keep the blood flowing to the victim's body. And as you guys can clearly hear, she's telling Kevin to try to breathe. So if she's performing compressions, she's maintaining that he is going to possibly continue to breathe until further EMT or police arrive. But instead, the so-called nurse begins to get very aggravated. She starts cursing and she's insisting that they hang up from her, go down to the front desk, and go and get an AED. She then states that Kevin is not going to make it and she's tired of waiting. Bingo. And this proves right then and there that that's what she was exactly doing. She was waiting. She never gave any chest compressions to Kevin Samuels. She instead told him to try to breathe and think about his daughter and think about his mother. And that is not something that a nurse, a trained nurse that should know how to do CPR on an unresponsive or unconscious patient who is having difficulties breathing. And once again, guys, if you were paying attention to the 911 call, you can clearly hear this so-called nurse state that Kevin Samuel is turning blue and he's not going to make it. And this is clearly not a nurse that is clearly doing compressions or giving him any CPR. And let's think about it, guys. Before this 911 call was ever released to the public, the details around how Kevin Samuels died are a bit sketchy. And you guys can hear clearly the phone call is all the way sketchy. Because let's not forget, before the 911 call was released, Kevin Samuels' last IG video was giving more fuel to that conspiracy theory that he was probably murdered. And this is all alleged. Because this so-called nurse said that Kevin Samuels started to complain about pain in his chest early that morning on May 5th. She claimed that she had met him that night and she decided to spend the night with him at his apartment. So she met him that night and she decided to spend the night with him at his apartment for whatever reason. You walked with this stranger or this man into his apartment. You did not make a clear registration of what floor he stayed on or what apartment he was in for your own safety. And guys, I'm going to keep this all the way 100. Kevin Samuels seemed to be living his best life. Kevin Samuels was fine before he ever came into contact with this young lady. Once again, guys, before this 911 call was released, there were numerous levels of speculation to his passing. Some asserted that he simply had a heart attack and drank too much Red Bull. Others even alleged without any proof that he was doing heavy drugs, which could have included cocaine and fentanyl. Beyond that, other charges that he might have actually been murdered by this woman. And guys, I'm going to keep it 100 and give my actual opinion by listening to the 911 call. And in my opinion, he could have been very well murdered by this woman because she made no attempt to really save his life or to keep his heart beating until the proper paramedics or EMTs or policemen arrived. And then to further add insult to injury, she goes around and she's telling everybody that she was a nurse. And this makes this whole incident even more tragic than what we heard on the 911 call. Because guys, let's face it, in the 911 call, we never heard her say that she was an actual nurse. However, it has been reported that she stated to the public or whoever interviewed her that she was actually a nurse. I looked her name up on the nurses registry and I could not find this young lady anywhere located. And everybody does not have to agree with Kevin Samuels and his content. Hell, a lot of y'all don't even agree with my goddamn content. And this normally happens to bloggers. You have people that agree with us and you have people that don't agree with us. And I'm not going to say that I agree with Kevin Samuels and his content because he did nothing but give his opinions and his thoughts and his beliefs on what he believed in. Whether it was positive to you or negative to you. What gives anybody the right to celebrate someone's death? And not only just his death, guys, the way he died was very tragic. At the end of the day, Kevin Samuels was a human being. And at the end of the day, this so-called nurse is responsible for his death because she stated in her own words, guys, he's turning blue, he's not gonna make it, and I'm tired of waiting. She never gave him any medical attention to keep the blood flow to his body. She never gave him any chest compressions or did any CPR. So this is one question we must ask ourselves, guys. Who's responsible for Kevin Samuels' death? And regardless of what he said on his channel or even on any of his videos, guys, we're talking about a life and death situation. We're talking about a death that could have been prevented. Had she helped him out, Kevin Samuels would have made it out alive and still been uploading to this very day. And this is why I smell foul play. And if you guys are wondering why I smell foul play, the 911 call tells the whole story. This lady said that Kevin Samuels was turning blue and that he was not going to make it. In my opinion, Kevin Samuels was already dead when she called 911. This was a whole setup. And this so-called nurse just ran a play. The question is, who sent her?